Good afternoon, RHDD, and I welcome you to the special edition of this week's weekly message. In last week's update, I talked about the budget process and the coalition that Opera brought together to speak with legislators and explain to them what our system needs. And while I have a decent level of knowledge on this topic, I've invited the subject expert himself, Pete Moore, to explain in more detail what the process is like, what our coalition is asking for, and just to give you a broader understanding of the work that Opera is doing on your behalf right now. So, Pete, could you introduce yourself, explain what's going on in Columbus?
Yeah, thanks, Lisa. I'm Pete Moore. I'm the president and CEO of the Ohio Provider Resource Association, OPRA, as we call it, and happy to be with you today. And yeah, this is a very exciting and important time in our system's history. We're in a budget season. Every 2 years, the state of Ohio has what they call a biennium budget process, and that sets the funding for the next 2 years for the state of Ohio. And as many of you know, last budget we were able to achieve a historic increase for our system, a much needed increase for our system, and even then, I thought that there would be some challenges ahead after that big increase, and how are we going to be able to follow that up for one, and how are we going to sustain increases. And when we went to legislators last budget, we talked about we need to stabilize our system. As if you remember, the workforce issues were so severe, Lisa, and all your colleagues were really struggling with filling shifts and keeping people around. So we asked the legislature, help us stabilize our system. And with that increase, I think we were able to basically do that. So the message now is thank you for helping us stabilize our system. Now we have to look towards sustainability. So our goal for this budget is to, for one, not lose any ground
Great.
after that increase. And I think we're safe there right now. I'll talk about what we're waiting on here in a bit, but so we're asking for some modest increases as we try to figure out a mechanism for ongoing increases, so we don't have to go back every 2 years and I don't want to say necessarily beg for money, but advocate for the resources we need. Let's have something we can point to and say we should be right there. Help us get there. So that's what we're looking at with this budget, is that sustainability and moving forward into the future. Um, right now, the we're waiting on the House of Representatives to finalize their version of the budget. So they take the governor's proposal and they make their amendments to that proposal, and it should be released. I think sometime next week is what we're shooting for. But it's very quiet. We really have no idea where we stand with what we asked for, which was just above in the first year, just above a 3.3% raise on, this is waiver numbers, a 3% raise on the rate, and just over 2% in year two. So we'll know where we stand here in another week or so. Then we move on to the Senate. And the process for that is the Senate will get it. Same thing. They add their own amendments. They modify what the House did, uh, uh, add to that. If we did not get anything with the House, with the ICFs, with the waiver, the things that we were shooting for, then we're going to try again in the Senate. Um, we have some very strong advocates in the Senate, and it should be, uh, uh, I feel good about the advocacy in the Senate as well. But a lot of it has to do with how the state's doing with tax receipts and everything that's going on in our state. So it's kind of unpredictable this time around.
What do tax receipts look like currently?
I think we're fairly steady. I think there's some economic with the change in administration at the federal level. there's some concerns about the economics of the country. So, I think Ohio's also concerned, but I think so far we're okay. But spring, we still have a lot of time to see where we end up in the spring. So, um, uh, what is true today may not be true in a month.
Right,
So keep an eye on it.
right. So overall, what is, I guess, clarify just a little bit. The overall ask is essentially tying our rates to a cost of living.
We're actually looking there. So, for this uh, budget, we tied it to the consumer price index. Um, but also, what's in the budget, our proposal from the coalition is over the next 2 years, we're going to work with the Department of Developmental Disabilities to come up with what that mechanism is going to look like into the future. Um, and this is a challenge, something we feel we have to push for and do. But it's a challenge because legislators, if you talk to any legislator right now, they will say, I don't know, we don't like to commit future general assemblies to making increases. We want them to decide. But this really isn't about committing the money. It's about a mechanism, like I said earlier, that we can point to and say that's where we should be, like a consumer price index or other indexes out there. We're actually also looking at the possibility of a cost based. So having a select number of providers look at the actual cost of doing business and having rates match up with the actual cost of doing business. So they're all proposals right now, but we are asking to put in statute that we will be working on this mechanism.
I see. I
Yeah,
think that's a great idea.
yeah.
I think
I
that's,
think it's much needed, and there's precedent for it. The intermediate care facilities or ICFs have a
yep,
cost reporting mechanism that adjusts their rates,
yep,
and so it's not like it's completely foreign
exactly.
to what's going on.
And our rates are unique in the healthcare system in that we are entirely reliant on Medicaid. We
Yes,
can't establish what our rate is going to be for our service. The federal government and the state government and DODD tell us what that rate will be.
yeah, and that's an important point that we make all the time with legislators is the idea that providers, people with developmental disabilities, are 100% reliant on Medicaid, and there's a lot of controversy being a mostly conservative legislature about Medicaid and the expansion that happened under Governor Kasich years ago. But we say, don't include us in that debate.
Yep.
We're different, and I actually had a legislator, and I've been using this a lot, even in our trip to DC this week. Of we want to build a wall around
Yes.
DD services. And so we're trying to define what that wall looks like and what it means. So that's a good sign when you have a legislator saying we want to protect developmental disabilities.
I love that. Love that. And that's just a testimonial to the hard work that you're putting in and your team are putting in to bring awareness to our system.
I appreciate it. It's definitely a team effort. I take very little credit for any of this. I definitely think, and you said you talked about the coalition last week. It is definitely a team effort. We need everybody moving in the same direction, everybody saying the same things, and for RHDD and all the providers out there, just keep doing good work. And that makes it very easy for us to go in the state house, to go to DC and say, look, we're supporting great providers. They're good stewards of the money. They are people who care deeply for the people you support. They deserve to be recognized and supported appropriately.
Providing excellent services, we will absolutely continue to do.
I know
Absolutely.
you will. I appreciate it.
Well, thank you, Pete, for this
Oh,
update.
no.
It was truly a pleasure hosting you, and I hope to do it again soon.
Yeah, anytime. And keep up the great work out there, guys. Thanks so much for all you do. Really appreciate
Wonderful.
it.
Well, thank you, RHDD, and everybody listening to this. I hope you have a fantastic weekend, and I will see you soon.